Good morning.
Good morning.
For all of you at the keynote, that scare everybody. Oh, thanks. What I thought I'd do today, one is to answer any questions you have from that or other questions in general, but also go through a few actual phishing messages and that we've gotten here and that people have followed for, and maybe walk through things to look for. Because as I mentioned, the two-step won't stop you from clicking on the message of allowing your credentials. It'll stop them from actually getting what's going on. So it's still important that you be on the lookout for phishing messages and just learn not to just automatically click when you attempt to see. So this one is the one that I talked about in the keynote. It was a message that claimed to come from the chancellor. It's very easy to take existing messages, to copy the images, to create your own version of it, and to send it out. And this one, if you, I don't know if you can all read that from here, but some things to look at. This one, you always want to look at the from line. And when I say look at the from line, you want to really examine it. If there's a message you get that's asking for something, start to be suspicious initially. But the from line in this case was from a UNC address. What we see, the way phishing attacks work is they will, and this is all part of two steps will slow this down. But say I get a phishing message, send out a few phishing messages, and I might click on it and click on the link. It comes to ask for a login. The logins in most cases, when you click on the link, the login page they take you to that's fake will look just like ours. Okay. That's so you get sucked into this, and again, there's things to look for when that happens, but they really are good at this stuff. I'm trying to fix. But so let's say I click on it, I provide my credentials, they grab my stuff. Now they've got the keys to my account. Okay. So then they go into my account with my credentials, and they will start to explore. I go to my contacts list and download all my contacts, so they can expand their list of things they can send emails to. Then they will, in most cases, they'll turn around and they'll start sending email from my account out to everybody on my contact list, and it'll be phishing messages. And so now people will get phishing messages from me. At least it looks like it's from me. It's coming from my account, and they're more likely to click on it because they look like they're coming from somebody from known person. And Office 365, unfortunately, treats all internal emails as safe. And so once they get in and they start to send, those don't get examined as well, so they get blocked as if they were like they knew from the outside. So then maybe a few people that got that email message from my account clicked on it, provided credentials, and they do the same thing, and they will harvest that information, and then they start moving those accounts that people fell for it, and they'll start to blast phishing message from there. And it just expands out. So we'll get waves of messages from different accounts that it's the same message, but they all look like they're safe and internal. So just because it comes from an internal account doesn't guarantee that it's going to be safe. In this particular case, it was from an internal account. So it was a student's account that got compromised, and then they sent that from them. So always look at the front line, because a lot of times if they can't get into a local account, they'll send it from outside. So the example I talked about where my boss sent an email message, or it appeared that my boss had sent an email message to a finance guy. That was actually generated from the outside. It's real easy. You can go into the settings, you can change the name on the phone line. So they just put Chris Kelp on the name, but if you look closely at the phone line, it wasn't for a name you would see that it was from some other account outside of UNC. So if you get one of these, look there, and sometimes it's not a guarantee, but a lot of times that phone line will be off. And so look at that. But if you look at this message, they took the image, they copied that, they put it in a message, and then they came up with some language. But if you read this, and what happened in this case, the person who got very busy got the message from the chancellor, it says, I need to do an update, clicked on it, and just walked right through it, and didn't make all those pictures. Well, we went back to her and said, here's the one that you clicked on, because I'll often show that. She looked at it and said, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't look at it that close. So if you read this, it says, Dear Carolina community, I'm sharing for your thoughts and review the appended update concerning UNC at Chapel Hill. These are explained in details, which all employee are expected to read, understand, and digest, so as to share opinions among each other in order to improve our organization. Grateful to you for the endless help of enhancing our organization. The language is rough on that. Now, if the chancellor's communication person sent a message out, that would be the last message that they would send. And so, again, it's if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Okay? And we'll try. We couldn't. We thought we'd try to go to the chancellor and say, can we somehow say you'll never put a link in your messages? And we really couldn't get that far, because there might be times to do it. We're trying to reduce the number of links, so what we try to say is we'll never send you a message that's going to ask for IT. Yet we turn around when it's time to change your password, we send you a message and say, it's time to change your password, click on this. So we just changed that over the last few weeks. We now have a new one that says, go to the, you'll search on a home page for onions, and it'll take you there. So we don't have a link, we just talk about it. All right, so this one, again, if you need to move up closer to see it, and these slides will be available for afterwards as well. So this is one, and I blocked the names out of these, but most of these that I think I've actually came from the internal, it was from that spread I talked about. But they'll throw in generic stuff that tries to make it look official, but sometimes when you look at it closer, it doesn't make sense. So this is supposedly coming from us. I think it was claiming to be from IT or whatever, and it just says, "Dear email user," they make it official with this University of North Carolina on top. Please sign in to reconfirm your email ownership. Well, there's no reason we ever do that. If we can't keep track of who owns that email account, we should be fired. along with that communication person from the chancellor. So you click on it to confirm ownership. Best regards, help desk. Oh, by the way, it's copyrighted to UNC. That's a common thing they like to throw in there, that they copyrighted this message. But this same message, if you roll over the link, what you see here is a couple telltale signs, actually. Reminds me. Take one pass around. Handouts. Take as many as you want. I've printed 100 of them. So there's some things to look at. Telltale signs from phishing messages. So they will most always either contain a link or attachment. They have to get some way to you to provide that information. In most cases, it's a link that you click on, or be an attachment that contains a link or some other malware in it. And then there will be some type of urgency, that you've got to do something or something bad's going to happen to you. In this case, they don't do the threat, but this is things saying you better reconfirm your email ownership. Sometimes they say, or your account's going to be terminated or disabled or something like that. We've seen them with quota. You're exceeding your quota, and your account's going to crash if you don't acknowledge that you're exceeding your quota. But anyway, if this link, if you roll over the link, this has got an address that has absolutely nothing to do with UNC. Okay, it's over. I don't remember what country VN is, but it's a foreign country address. It's also when you look at these addresses, this one again it's hard to see, but if you look at it closely, the URL is www.ecvn.edu.vn. Okay, sometimes we'll see where we've actually seen them where we'll say www.unc.edu dot something else. So that dot something else is the important piece. They can put anything in front of that they want that makes it look like it's official, but you want to look all the way to that first slash. For the unc.edu, the first slash should be after edu. Otherwise, it's suspect. Does that make sense? Yeah. And they do this all the time, where they'll make it where it looks just like it, but it'll be one character. They may have a one instead of an I. So, so this is an example of the from line. This was an actual message that was sent to one of the provost assistants, it was from Robert Bluen, but the address has absolutely nothing to do with UNC. It looks official. It's got the president office, 018, but it's at inbox.lv, so absolutely nothing to do with UNC. So that was the first clue that there was a problem with this. Also, and they changed the name here, but it said Stephanie. So it said they know our organizational structure, so they know who works for who. It's easy to find out. So they knew that Stephanie worked for the provost, and so it says, Stephanie, I need you to run a task ASAP. Let me know if you're unoccupied. P.S. I'm busy at the moment, so don't come ask me if I sent this. Is really what they're trying to say, and can't talk, but we'll look forward to your reply. So Stephanie, and it says, thanks, Robert. That's another clue. He goes by Bob and not Robert. So that's another clue that, hey, something's not right about this message. Sent from my iPhone. What will happen in my cases like this if people don't pay attention, and sometimes with Office 365 with the Outlook client, it'll just show the name. So you have to kind of do a right click on it and say show details. I asked her though, when she got this one, it actually showed the full address of the message that she got. But where's that going? Oh, so if people aren't paying attention, what she might have done is hit reply and not have paid attention to where the reply went to, and said, okay, yeah, I'll send that to you. This is trying to wire money, and that's probably where this one was going. It's actually been successful. We actually had people fall for this and wire money. So it's working. The reason they do this is because we fall for it and they're making big bucks. Okay. This one, we're actually seeing not just going towards email, personal emails. This was an email that was sent to a vendor coordinator, that group, and it was from, you look at this, Dave Sparling, who I assume is the actual vendor name, and then from dsparling.fishersci@mail.com. So they make this first part of it look official. You know, it's got Fisher Science, but after the @ sign, there's nothing to do with Fisher Scientific. It's at a generic mail.com. So that's clue number one. The dear sir, madam, kindly update our supplier record to reflect our new bank account for all our remittance addresses. Thank you. And it has the full name and stuff for Dave Sparling from Fisher Scientific. Again, they knew enough about what we do and who our vendors are to find out the information on the vendors and to craft the message to do it. And back in the early days, a few years ago, when we started getting handled with phishing messages, it was all volume. I'm going to send out 10 million messages out there, and if I get 1/10 of 1% of people click on it, I'm doing it, right? But they now decided, if we get smarter about this, we can go after the big fish. And so the tactics all change where they are targeting. So they might be going after me for something. The crappy messages are designed for me, not for the masses. They're designed for me, and they're designed to trick me. We've even seen some cases a couple of years ago in the School of Medicine. A faculty member got an email from a what was supposed to be a professor in Australia. It said, hey, Dr. So-and-so read your study on so-and-so gave me the study, they're interested, love to talk to you more about it. Like the professor, the researcher, got suspicious because the person that was asking about it and trying to make that connection wasn't in the same field. It was actually coming from a university in Australia, but as we researched it, it was an account that had been compromised at that university. And they were disguising, pretending to be faculty member at the university using that compromised account to try to contact someone here. And they will actually go and let them know what they can find out if you go to a conference. They can find out who attended the conference and say, hey, I saw your presentation on X, Y, and Z at this conference. Let me talk to us. They connect. We're seeing examples of this all the time. Yeah. So this case where they notice they're using our information, they craft this message. The attachment is this, all right? So they got our direct deposit form online. They filled in all the information on it, gave the routing number, and they actually included a canceled check or voided check with a routing number. This routing number is a valid routing number. Goes to some bank in Ohio. And so I think the way they're planning with this one is if they get this thing changed, because it's a vendor and goes through a whole bunch of different people, they can get money transferred for quite a while before somebody finds out there's something wrong. Well, whoever has created that account at that bank in Ohio is moving that money someplace else as quick as it comes in. That's the plan. In this case, they got it, said this looks official. Their protocol is let's verify it by calling the company to make sure this is legit. So they did, but they used that phone number, or the phone number that's on the form. They called that number, and the person at the other end said, yep, that's legit. It turns out that was the Fishers that they were calling, not the actual company. So they knew enough to go in and change that information. They got another one the same day. This one was from Dell. Okay, same MO. We had Brian Cody, the actual rep. BrianCody.Dell@gmx.com. So again, nothing to do with Dell on the other side of that side. And kind of similar thing, please update your records and the like. They got this one, and it same thing. This was to a different bank. And if you look at it, it's got Dell marketing on the check, but you can, you go to artisticchecks.com and have a check, have anything you want printed on those checks. Or if you're well financed, you have your own printers to do this for you. But anyway, the different routing number, different bank, but the same whole process. Because they got this one on the same day, they don't get these very often. They got suspicious and started to look into it more and realized that the other one was bad. They actually changed that first one, but they didn't change this one. So they went back and they fixed the first one. But again, this is some of the things that we are fighting against. Here's one where they again, this urgency piece. So this one again came from on campus, but it's talking about emergency security on campus. Hello, all. Police emergency concern on campus, ? Kindly view update on the situation here, and please follow the outlined protocol. Fortunately, I couldn't capture what that was. I used to go in and actually go to the page and take snapshots of that so people could see what it was. But what we do is as soon as we get that bad, we cut it off so people can't get access to it. But again, you roll your mouse over it. This has absolutely nothing to do with UNC, nothing at all. But they have, here's University of North Carolina. I love this, but it's on Country Club Road. They just pick some type of address. We've actually seen where they will look up the names of the help desk technician, and they'll put that name in there. And so people go, oh yeah, I know that person. So they rely on our familiarity to do that. Again, this is a case where it was some type of threat, and it had a link, some type of action for you to take. So again, we all know that in our environment, this is not the way they're going to communicate. They're going to do North Carolina messages and things like that. Also, in the old days, we used to have, a lot of the messages that would come out, phishing messages, would just be so bad grammatically, or just misspellings, things like that. And they're getting better at it. So these, again, this is all organized crime, very well funded. They can hire, most people have some type of price they will, so I'm sure they're hiring people who English is their primary language, and helping some of the bigger operations that are out there. Again, this is another one that was a security alert. Please read. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill security alert. The date. University. Your University of North Carolina Chapel Hill email account has been suspended. How am I reading my email if it's been suspended? Okay. You must verify it immediately to be able to send or receive email. Actually, misspelled. Or your account, got part of a copy. Or your account will be closed, and you wouldn't be able to send and receive email. Click on the link to verify. It's got a www.unc.edu URL. That looks legit. But if you roll over it, nothing to do with UNC. Okay, so it's very easy to, it's called a hyperlink, very easy to, on the back end, to put a totally different address on there. All you do is right click and fill in the other address and take you to the other place. Again, here's my favorite, the copyright message I send. That's a common one that I've seen a lot of those. Again, another one where there's a threat, it's emergency. This is your last warning. And no punctuation. Your University of North Carolina mailbox will stop sending and receiving messages in the next 24 hours. Kindly increase your mailbox size, by filling out the necessary mailbox requirement. Click here to complete. And certainly takes you to a form to fill out and provide that information. Again, the link here, absolutely nothing to do with that. We see a lot of them. This one goes to Weebly.com. We see a lot of Fisher uses those sites like Weebly, and there's some other ones that are out there. Those are sites where you can easily put up a web page, either free or at low cost. And so they will go to that site, set up a bogus account. They'll create a web page that looks just like our login page or some other form to collect that information. And then so you click on that, so you're going to the Weebly.com, but to that specific page is asking for that information. Weebly, and those sites, they don't normally scan to look for things that look suspicious. They just say, you made money, we'll put you out there. But if when we encounter these, we also send them notices and say, this one's a bad site. But there's a delay, and in the meantime, people are providing that information. But the typical flow, sense of urgency, you got to take some kind of action or something bad's going to happen to you. Another one of the same type, and I think this was no, okay. Again, this is your last warning. University of North Carolina mailbox will stop sending and receiving messages in the next 24 hours. Kindly increase your mailbox size by filling out the necessary form. In this case, this is same kind of format. Came from different people, was sent at a different time. But we, especially last fall, we were getting just hammered with these. But this is a case where exact same text. It came, I left the initials of the person, but it came from a different person, and it was a different time. But if you look back, same text, same source. This one was to some number.weebly.com. One is schools776.weebly.com. So again, I was going to Weebly just to get a page up there. This one's just a little different format. Again, it's from account service, whatever that is. From this one actually came from the UK, an account over in the UK. Has nothing to do with UNC. Different format. Verify your mailbox. It's got hello. It's got this one actually came to me. A lot of these I get forwarded to me, but this one actually came to me. Within 24 hours, if you do not verify your mailbox, your email will be disabled/terminated. That means you will not be able to send or receive email. You verify your mailbox. There's my copyright. A lot of copyrights out there. But if I roll over that link, and this was the whole link. This is kind of an unusual format. If I roll that link, same MO. This one, I think TR is Trinidad. Was a company that was country, but it has absolutely nothing to do with UNC. No other things. I was kind of surprised that no other identifiers for UNC, but it came to my UNC account. And we see all kinds of formats that come out there with the similar types of themes. What I did with this one is we got a wave of these around. Actually, this one came in October. So this is one that was sent at 2:08. And I got basically several of these. Again, this one, the URL was UNC administration or administrator upgrade.weebly.com. So I tried to make it look official with that. What I want to point out over here, this was my listing from my, in Outlook when you get a list of all the stuff's in your inbox. And this was 3 of them that all came within minutes of each other, had the exact same information in the text, but it was from different people. These two are the same. This was from a different person. The links are different in them. So we can't. We used to try to chase these things and try to. As soon as we got a bad one, we try to block that one. So what happens? They keep rotating. And so whatever, if we blocked on a certain link, well, the next one will come out with a different link to the same information. So it just changed on tape. So that was really not effective, and it took a lot of resources. We haven't seen as many of the huge wave attacks like we saw last fall. Thanksgiving was in particular over that weekend. Like I said, they know our holidays and they know that we're understaffed at that point. They're just cameras. And so over the Thanksgiving weekend, I can't remember the numbers now, but it was tens of thousands of phishing messages came in, all with the same subject line, which was kind of unusual. And so we don't typically try to block those, but because we had so many people that got hit with this that we really had to block that, so we start blocking it. So then they get wiser and start pretending that as well. Yeah, this one actually claimed to come from the HR department, and it was a summary and for a code of conduct for you to review it, and eventually had a read and authorize, and it was sent out to employees to say you need to verify that you've read this and make it look official. So when you click on this, it's going to. It had absolutely nothing to do with that. And I think, okay, this is, some reason it captured the wrong thing for me. This is the message that I talked about that they got around their 2-step. She got this message, talked about code of contact, looked official. Again, but there were telltale signs, but if you look at the text, it's all pretty well written and could fool somebody. And to have the authorized here, when you clicked on that one, it actually brought up a document. And then that document was a link, and you signed into that. And that's the case, well, now they have her credentials. She was in 2-step. because it was a new account. So she started out two-step. And so she complied, didn't realize she'd given up her credentials. And then at some time later, you know, the bad guy now has the credentials. And when you first log in, you get this on the two-step, for those that have done that, which is asking for a, it'll ask for a code that's you're getting off your phone, or you can also have it set up to send a prompt. Well, she had it set up for the code. Yeah, it's actually a different screen. But there'll be a link there that says, you know, verify through another means. Click on that, and it'll tell you if you the last two digits of the phone number, other phone that you're registered. And so they went up to that because they knew that they couldn't get the code, couldn't get her to provide the code. And so they said, I'll try the telephone. So they clicked on that, the phone rang. She picked it up, didn't understand what was going on, punched the key, and nothing. What we're doing is we went back and looked, and we're modifying that. We have to go to modify what the phone says, and we're going to, this week, hope to have that changed to where it'll say something to the effect that you're getting this phone call because someone tried to log into your account. If it wasn't you, hang up and call the service desk. If it was you, talk to the phone. But that's most of what I have here. Questions at all? Is it helpful?
Yes, very helpful.
I think I was working on a security presentation one time to talk about how there are ways to protect yourself. You also don't want to be in the I'm always tense mode. You know, oh my God, this phishing message. Oh, this one's phishing. This is it. The Gartner, who they give a lot of advice on technology, but they use a term called relaxed computing, and it's an analogy to driving a car. So when I drove to work this morning, I'm going down a 2-lane road, and I'm literally inches from death, all the way in. You know, got cars coming the other way. All it takes is one idiot to come across that line, and it could be instant death, right? You know, but we do that every day. We don't sit there going, okay, you know, we're all right. Well, maybe you do, right? But if you know, something, how many times gone down the road? Yeah. But if you see something that unusual, a deer starting to approach the road, a child starting to run out, a car comes across the center line or something like that, you know, a red flag ought to come up and say, hey, you know, I got to do something, and now you're in a higher stage of alert, and you're starting to do that. Well, you can kind of do that when you're doing email and stuff like that. Most of the stuff is benign and good day-to-day stuff, but if you see something that is unusual, your red flags ought to come up and say, hey, I better pay closer attention. This might be bad. In most cases, turns out they are bad. You know, if it doesn't feel right, they probably aren't. But there's ways to go around it. You know, we mentioned the phone call that for that one vendor slip, they made an effort to try to do the phone call. There's also don't want to use the same source that they use. So, you know, if you get a phishing message and it says, you know, here's a help desk and this is our number, don't use that number. Use some other source. Or if it's your bank, you get something from your bank. You know, as mentioned, you need to pay attention to your personal stuff as well. I'm a USAA member, and I have actually received phishing messages designed to go after USAA. But you know, when you look at it, this doesn't look right. Something doesn't feel right. So you look closer. And when you get them in your personal account, delete them. You know, we're the best thing to do is get out of your outbox. And then you go back to your relaxed.
What does our society do when these people? I mean, do they catch them? Do they?
Well, they're getting better. The thing that's hard about it, one is they're in countries that have no laws. So they're in, you know, Nigeria is a common place to have them. You know, some of the smaller African countries. we're getting this from, China and Russia and things like that. But that's actually, I saw a document though, where they did had some statistics. We actually get more spam messages and phishing messages from inside the U.S. than we do outside. So they actually more originate here than other places. Now they may be command and control from someplace else, but they have accounts here where they do that. But they are catching. There's been some things in the news where they've been able to get agreements with other countries, and they've actually been able to go out and arrest some of the big kingpins. And sometimes when we've seen cases where they'll find arrest some senior people, and they'll bring down a system or an operation. They will actually see our phishing messages go down for a while until they just pick up someplace else. But the thing we tend to forget, back in the old days, I always have background. These are third world countries. They don't know what to do and all that. That's not true anymore. That's their job. We've even seen some cases where phishing messages, when we were getting hammered, we'd see them during working hours. You'd see where they'd actually, over weekends, they'd take a break, and we'd see fewer incidents because they get time off too. But it's big business for them. They're making a lot of money at our expense, and so we just really got to be vigilant. And if they weren't making money, they wouldn't do this. But they can buy the systems. I'll tell. I mentioned in the keynote that I suspected this was from related to Equifax breach. And what I suspect is that whoever got that has sold that data. We have seen cases that what happens is on the dark web, you'll see where some of that data will get split up, parsed out, or whatever. But if you can imagine getting that entire database that has our whole life history, they have a capability. Again, they're well sourced, well funded, so whoever has that probably has the resources to build their own massive database systems, and they can do the types of parsing and searching to categorize stuff. So, for example, they could say, build me a sub list of anybody that's got UNC as an employer. So they now get a sub database that's all UNC employees or have been UNC employees. And then now what can we do with that information? They go after our retirement accounts. So they start attacking. We've seen cases they've attacked some of our retirement accounts with that information, trying to create accounts to get into that data. They're able to stop it. But and the reason I think the big reason I think it's the Equifax related to that is we're working with a vendor who was getting hammered, and they had people that were impersonating UNC employees, and they were doing it by sequentially going down a list of names in alphabetical order, and they were in the C's when they were doing this, so people with the last name C would be infected. And they would watch them. They were just fishing. So they had this huge list of names, and they were trying to create accounts online. And what you had to have was the name, date of birth, and social security. And then you create an initial account, but then you go through some other steps that are still going to block this if they're successful at the first step. But they actually have logs where they got to one individual, and that individual, for that name, they typed in name, social security number, date of birth, and they got a failure. What they saw on all the others is when they got the failure, they just went to the next name. In this case, they went back and they typed in the name, social security number, same social security number, a different date of birth, and they got success. Okay. What's unique about that, or noteworthy about that, is for that particular individual, in their credit report, they had two birth dates, two dates of birth listed for some reason. That was the two dates they typed in. The first one didn't match up, the second one did. And to me, that is strong evidence that they've got that data from Equifax or some similar database. But now what they're doing is they have that information, So we're seeing in our help desk or service desk that people call in, and they'll target a name. You know, they look for, I'm going to go after this individual. You know, we had the one that was a history professor. They decide that's my target. I'm going to do what I can to get into that person's account. So they call the help desk, and they've got, you know, all the questions we ask, and you know, to see if they're successful. So we've learned from that, and we're now looking at alternative ways to say. There had one case where they had technicians suspected it was a bad actor, and said, "Who's your supervisor?" And the person got angry. You know, they hadn't researched that. They had all the other stuff, but they didn't have just, you know, some common piece of information. But they're using that to exploit us. And so what we're also doing is so we ask additional questions. We're also working we want to get access to the ID badge, the one card database. And so if someone calls in and we suspicious on it, say, hey, you know, you're calling from cell phone, take a picture of yourself and send it to us. And see if it matches the name that's in the database. Or Dual just came out because now most people have 54,000 people registered for Dual. Dual just came out with capability for the help desk to be able to say, tell you what, I'm going to send you a Dual push while on the phone. You acknowledge that push and I'm If they can't do that because that you're not who you say. So we're learning on this as well. We've been through, we're learning to try to change our processes to try to get that as well. But, it's a dangerous game of cat and mouse. I don't know when it's supposed to end. Are we at the end of our time? Okay. Other questions? Yeah, plenty more.
So how do you notify all of the families? You want to know when you go online to ITS. But you know, I'm sure a lot of people that are looking for that information. So how do you notify staff that you get a suspicious email like IT, like IT person said, hey, what do you think? They'll send it in to the or spam that not even you. But you know, somebody's looking at it and it looks very legit. They don't know all of that information. They can click on it. So how
So a couple of ways. Close this one too. Come on in. So one of the problems is email doesn't work. One, because people ignore email. They only get so flooded with it. That's why phishing is work. People don't pay attention to it. So you don't do that. Also, because we know they're in some of our accounts, until we get completely two-factored, then we can be fairly certain that we've gotten it all out. But, you know, except for the handful of people that let them back in. But they monitor our emails. So we, for example, when we were doing our Office 365 migration a couple years ago, we started seeing phishing campaigns early around Office 365 you know, to convince people this is part of that migration, to get you to click on it to do some stuff. So that's part of that's hard. One of my goals, because I've been in this job now for about 4 months, but one of my priorities is to beef up our education process, the user awareness. You know, right now there's supposed to be a training module you take once a year, and I think our compliance with that is 4%. That's work. So we got to try to get somebody to do it, but having people take a training module once a year isn't good enough. So we're looking at different ways to do it through Zoom, to do Zoom sessions and have little 30-second, you know, well, here's a tip on password, stuff like that. But it's hard to get that information out in our environment because there's not any central piece. And people, after a while, people get numb to it. So, you know, I used to have more control over who we talked to in school of medicine when I was over there. And if there was a virus that was particularly, that I thought was particularly dangerous, I would send out blasts to the entire school of medicine and say, hey, this thing, we've seen this, don't click on it. And I got a lot of good feedback on that. But what happened is every time any kind of virus came in, somebody sent it and said, "You need to send out a report." Well, I'd send through, I'd be sending out 3 or 4 alerts a day, and people just go in. But when it's a really dangerous one, I wanted to pay attention. I sent it out. One of the reasons we had that fish at UNC.edu, there's a page that might not be as obvious, but it's called Fish Alerts. And you can go to that page and it'll show the latest ones we've got. So every one of those that gets sent to fish at UNC.edu, we actually, we take some action. In fact, if there's a link, we disable that link on campus so people, when they click on it, it won't go anywhere. And we try to block any more versions of that message that might be coming in. And then we post a copy of that message on Fish Alerts. So you can see in their chronological order. And so you can see what the latest ones are. But, oh yeah, that's a phishing message. But it's hard. It's hard to get people's attention. And it's just going to take constant, little small reminders here and there to get people to think about it. That's why things like two-step are important, so that because people don't get that message and they're still going to click on phishing messages, the damage is minimized as a result of that. Other questions? How many of you have received phishing messages before? All of you. I won't ask how many people have fallen for it. But there's sometimes I've actually got some messages and I'll double check. This one looks really, really good. Looks really good. I have when I was in School of Medicine, I did a lot more security presentations back then, and had one where people would send me stuff. My boss would really do that. But he got a message at that time from I think it was from Amazon, and it had the message was part of it. It looked just like the original. And so what I would do is I would take a picture of the message, say that, then I would actually walk through a process to say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to log in with some basic credentials, so that take me through that page, and just walk through to show the extent at which they do to make it look like it's a real experience. And so and the reason he sent it to me is the message said, hey, there's a problem with your recent Amazon purchase and we need to verify your credit card information before we can send you the package. And coincidentally, he had ordered something from Amazon, but he already received it. And so he said, this one doesn't look right. I went and looked at it. So when I was doing these screenshots, what I do is I type in just a made-up email address, a picture email address, and I type in just any kind of password, and I hit return, and I show that no matter what you put in, it would take you to the next step. So you think, hey, I'm logging into Amazon. Put in my ID and my password, so as soon as you did that, you just gave them your Amazon credentials. So now they have access. But then it took you to the next page and said, okay, now you need to verify your credit card information. And so they asked the entire history, your name, address, your credit card information, your date of birth, your mother's name, they asked all of that stuff. And they go, well, one day I already have that stuff, but so anyway, I took a picture of all that. Well, then what I want to do is now give examples. So here's what the real site looks like. So I went to the real site, I put in a made up, John Doe or something like that at gmail.com, and I typed in hello for the password, and I hit return, expecting it to say bad password, and it let me in. I had randomly guessed this person's password and got into Amazon. Now I have a dilemma. So let's see, do I send this person an email and say, I'm a security officer, I just hacked your account? Or do I say, thanks for all the stuff I was able to buy? What it is, when I bought a bunch of lottery tickets that night, didn't help. But you know, I think that part of the moral behind that story is one, they get very sophisticated. It's very easy for them to go to a site and screen scrape it and make another site that looks identical to it. Identical. They do that to our login pages. So, but frequently I've seen these where when you click on the link, it goes and looks just like our login, because they've screen scraped it, they've reproduced and put it somewhere else. So that's when you have to look at pay attention to the URL. And if you click on the link, you can see where it takes you.
Do you ever go out to individual places here and see and talk to? Because I feel like this is really important.
So we do. In fact, that's part of what I was doing with this, and that's for my user education. I want to have this where we can do this more.
Like I'm at Frankfurt Brand, in the Child Development Institute, and I hear all the time in our business office and stuff like that about things like this happening. Most of the time, I don't think a lot of people take it as seriously as what I've heard today.
Yeah. One, I don't think they understand the extent and the depth of what you're doing. That slide that I showed you that showed 639 people clicked on the message and provided credentials on this campus in 1 30-day period. 639 people. That's a sad statistic. It also tells how good they are. It also tells how relaxed we are if we're not as vision. Fortunately, that trend is going down. And that orange line was the second line. I anticipate that as our first week of December is when we'll have everybody switched over. Because we're pretty much on schedule for that. I expect that thing to be at or near zero. And in the single digits from the people who let somebody in. So we got to work on that piece of it because we see now that is an actual vulnerability because it's happened. So we got to educate people better, but also fix it on the back end. That when I listen to the phone call, I change it. I said, let me see what they really say on there. I listen to it and go, I can understand why someone who knew and maybe thinking, well, I got to complete this verification process. I registered for this, and click on it. Whereas if that message said, if you didn't do this, hang up, then it may have been a different result. So we're learning. We've also got to train people. But happy to come out. In fact, I encourage you guys. Yeah, or you can send me an email. Send me and happy to I'll come out or arrange to have somebody else come out. The more we do this, the more we because people learn from war stories. They do. I mean, that's why my predecessor was kind of reluctant to say, but I said, no, we want them to know. This is happening. We wish it hadn't happened, but if you know that it's happening, it makes a big difference. You understand, this is why we're doing it. It's not just us IT guys looking for something else to make your life more miserable. It's really, there's a reason for it, and the threat is there. It's real. And we're not alone in this. Universities and organizations are getting hammered by this. The expanse of the bad guys are doing is terrible. Well, and we're finding by giving this presentation, this is about the 10th or 12th time I've given that presentation, and I found that the people that hear it, they are supportive of doing the two-step instead of saying, I can do this. It's hard enough to remember a password, now I've got to do this other thing. Come on. But the alternative is bad. And we can't make exceptions. We're going to be very hardcore about people making exceptions. So we're already getting requests saying, saying, we got a faculty member that's going to China for a month. We don't want to have to deal with this two-step. Can we get an exception for them while they're in China? Well, quite frankly, that's where they need the most.
That's right.
Is in China. So we're being pretty hardcore about it here. We're trying to find alternate ways that they can do that instead.
I think it would help to IT and each department is really hitting it hard.
Yes, and we're encouraging them to do that. We're communicating with them and saying, you'll get people to register ahead of time. You can go ahead and make all of you, if you haven't registered, you can go ahead and do it right now. If you register, I encourage you to do so. Amazon has two-step. Most of those sites now do it. And we are actually behind the curve for that because Duke's been two-step for a long time. Easy statement is two-step a year ago. And it's just EduCause has sent out message and say, if you're not a two-step, please come on in yours. System office sent out a thing to the security folks saying, if you're not two-step, you need to be there. And so this is, and so quite frankly, we're behind others. And I know I'm going to sleep a lot better when we do that. Because the thing I haven't talked about, I've talked about the finance and stuff like that. So I'll give you some of the other ramifications. Is someone gets hooked by a phishing message, and if they're in the School of Medicine or School of Dentistry, everything in that account now is a breach because that person had access to that. And so we're having to go through a few of those now to potentially declare a breach, and with our fingers crossed that there isn't much in there, but all that is reportable. It could be what that means. There's a spreadsheet and that's got thousands of names of it and things like that. Yeah, but that's kind of the other piece is the additional financing stuff. Our data is risk.
I have a question. I know we got to get to the next session. We have our own server because of what we do in the web. But I mean, we had two-step and everything else that we need, our IT guy, make sure we got everything we need. But I'm wondering, do we need to put another layer on the server, even though I'm able to remote into the server from my desktop, because the server in the office is in another room.
We say service is service.
Yeah, because of our, I'm in the other office, so everything we just competition, we don't keep records there, but the aggregated that we have is on a separate server. So I'm just wondering,
So there's things, we're actually trying to get people to take advantage of these resources we have centrally.